A new chapter, finding purpose after retirement. When I turned 65, people kept congratulating me. You've earned it, they said, clapping me on the back. Now you can finally relax, travel, play golf, enjoy the golden years. I smiled, nodded, and pretended to share their excitement. Inside, though, I felt something else entirely: fear. For over 40 years, I had worked as an accountant. My days were dictated by deadlines, client meetings, spreadsheets, and balance sheets. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me structure. It gave me purpose. The thought of retiring, of suddenly having empty days stretching endlessly ahead, felt like stepping into a void. At first, I tried to follow the script that society handed me. I bought a set of golf clubs. I planned a long-awaited trip to Italy with my wife, Carol. I spent mornings drinking coffee on the porch instead of rushing to the office. And for a while, it was nice, like a vacation. But then, the novelty wore off. The mornings grew longer, the coffee colder. I noticed I wasn't smiling as much. Carol filled her days with gardening, book clubs, and phone calls with our daughter. I found myself watching more television than I cared to admit. By the third month, I began to dread the question, so how's retirement? I wanted to answer honestly. It feels empty. One evening, after dinner, Carol looked at me and asked, "What's really bothering you?" I hesitated, then confessed. "I don't feel useful anymore. For decades, people needed me. My clients relied on me. My team asked for my advice. Now, nobody needs me. I don't know who I am without my work." Carol reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You're more than your job, John. You've always been more. Maybe this is your chance to discover that." Her words stayed with me. But where does one start discovering a new purpose at 65? A week later, I got a phone call from an old colleague, Mike. He was teaching financial literacy workshops at the community center and asked if I could stop by to speak with the group. "Just an hour," he said. "Share what you know about budgeting and saving. These are young people starting out, and they could use guidance." I agreed, though reluctantly. Public speaking was never my strong suit, and I wasn't sure anyone would care what a retired accountant had to say. But when I arrived, the classroom was full. 20 young adults, eager and attentive. I started with the basics: how to track expenses, the importance of an emergency fund, the dangers of credit card debt. As I spoke, hands shot up with questions. How do I save for a house? What's the best way to pay off student loans? How much should I put into retirement savings? For the first time in months, I felt alive. These young people weren't bored. They were hungry to learn. They scribbled notes, nodded, and thanked me afterward. One young man said, "Nobody ever taught me this in school. You made it make sense." Walking back to my car, I felt something stir inside me. Maybe retirement didn't mean the end of usefulness. Maybe it meant shifting that usefulness to new places. I began volunteering at the community center every Tuesday. Soon, it wasn't just financial literacy. I helped with resume workshops, mock interviews, even basic computer skills. Each session reminded me that the knowledge I had accumulated over decades wasn't wasted. It was valuable. At home, Carol noticed the change. "You've got that spark back," she said with a smile. And she was right. But something else happened too. The more I taught, the more I realized I was also learning. These young people had dreams, energy, and perspectives that were fresh and inspiring. One woman wanted to open a bakery. Another hoped to become a nurse. A young man dreamed of starting a nonprofit. Listening to them reminded me of when I was young, when the future felt wide open. I started asking myself, what new dream could I pursue? Retirement wasn't the end. It was the beginning of another chapter. One day, Carol suggested, "Why don't you write? You've always had stories, and now you've got the time." The idea seemed strange at first. I was a numbers guy, not a storyteller, but I decided to try. I began writing short essays about my career, funny anecdotes, lessons learned, the mistakes I made, and the wisdom gained. Eventually, I shared a few pieces with the community center group. To my surprise, they loved them. "Mr. John, you should publish these," one student told me. With encouragement from Carol and my new circle of learners, I started a blog. At first, it was small, maybe a dozen readers, but slowly the audience grew. Other retirees wrote back, saying my words resonated. Young readers thanked me for the advice. I realized I had stumbled upon a new passion, using stories and writing to connect across generations. Looking back now, 5 years after that shaky start to retirement, I see how wrong I was to think life was over. It wasn't over. It was transforming. I still play golf now and then, and Carol and I finally did take that trip to Italy. But those are side notes. What fills my heart is the teaching, the mentoring, the writing. Retirement didn't steal my identity, it expanded it. I'm no longer just John the accountant. I'm John the mentor, John the storyteller, John the husband rediscovering life with Carol. If you're standing at the edge of retirement, feeling the same fear I once did, here's what I've learned. Don't measure yourself only by your past work. You are more than your career. The skills and wisdom you've built have value beyond the office walls. Be open to unexpected opportunities. I never thought teaching financial literacy would lead me to writing. One small step can open doors you never imagined. Purpose doesn't retire, it evolves. Sometimes it hides in places you haven't looked yet. Connection matters most. Sharing what you know, listening to others' stories, and being part of a community, that's what fills the emptiness. So, to anyone who's worried about life after retirement, let me tell you, the void isn't as scary as it seems. It's a blank page, and you get to decide what story to write next. As for me, I'm still writing mine, literally and figuratively. And I can say, with all honesty, that this chapter is turning out to be the most meaningful one yet.